What's up, Magical Misfits? Drew here, and today I'm doing a tag. Surprise, surprise. This is the Get to Know Your Witches tag that was started by Little Cosmic Crow. I originally saw this tag on Ashley's channel. I will leave a link for both of those and a list of the questions. There are 15 questions in this tag, and I'm going to try to get through it. I thought it was really fun. Okay, so number one is, does your sun sign, zodiac sign, portray you correctly? If not, do your other planetary signs? Now, I have a friend who is pretty adept in astrology, so I've explored this pretty deeply, and my chart blows my mind. It's so accurate, it's not even funny. And I just mean, I can look at my chart, especially with her assistance, and I can point out life events that have happened to me throughout my life. So I absolutely believe in astrology. At any rate, I am a Pisces. My birthday is February 26th, and I am a complete Pisces. I am so Pisces, it's not even funny. Even the negative things, almost everything to a T fits me. I am a Libra moon, and for that one, I can mostly agree. I can see most of what it says is accurate, but the thing is, your sun sign means one thing. It means one thing about who you are. It influences who we are in one way. And the moon sign does it in a different way. So a Libra sun sign is different. It manifests differently than a Libra moon, for instance, even though they're both Libra. They just don't manifest quite the same. So my Libra moon sign, I can mostly see how that is me. And then I'm Sagittarius rising, and yeah, I totally see that one too. So again, Sagittarius and sun, moon, or rising, ascendant, it all manifests a little bit differently. But yes, I can see that all three of them are accurate to a point. So number two is, what songs bring you the most magical vibes? And there are many songs that kind of, when I hear them, I'm like, oh. But really, if I want music in the background when I'm doing ritual or doing spellcraft, I'm gonna go probably first to Labana. Anything by Labana. There's one album in particular, and I can't think of what it's called right now. But also there are these sort of, they're compilation albums from around the world called Punta Maya. And we would play them all the time when I worked at Compass Rose, and I fell in love with them. And there's quite a few, especially Celtic Crossroads, that I will play to get in a witchy state of mind and to start doing some magic or ritual or anything of that nature. Although most of the time I don't play anything when I'm doing that kind of thing. Number three is, which one of your deities, guides, ancestors is most sarcastic with you? And if this doesn't apply to you, which of your tarot decks is? Okay, so everybody knows I'm not huge on tarot, so I'm gonna start there. In my experience, any one of my decks that I use can be snarky. None of them usually are, but for instance, my dear soul sister that just moved wanted a reading. And this was a couple months before she realized she was going to move, as it happened very suddenly. And she kept trying to give herself a reading and couldn't get any definitive answers. And so I tried to read for her, and we used 2 or 3 decks. And finally, I just looked at her and I'm like, they're not telling you shit. Because we just could not get anything out of, they were so muddled, and just basically, we're not telling you. You just have to wait and see. And it did, we were laughing and both very frustrated, because it was very frustrating. It was very sort of snarky and smart alecky is how it felt at the time. But as far as, none of my ancestors have been sarcastic with me. No deity, I don't seek deity out, so none of them have been sarcastic with me, but I do have one guide. I have many guides actually, but one of them is, he's not trying to be a smartass, but he has never been in human form. He has never been incarnate. I call him the architect. I don't even know. He is so foreign. He's so alien in energy and nature. And when he tells you things, he's just very matter of fact. And as a human being, it sounds kind of dickish. My first interaction with him was, I have back problems, and I had hurt my back the worst I ever have in my life. I was messed up for 2 years off it. And in that second year, and this was true all the way through, anytime I would go to sit down, it would cause me great pain because my muscles would instantly tense up. It's muscle memory, because fear because I knew it was going to hurt. And I was sitting in the yard and I'm just like, please, I need help with this. And he was new to me at that time. And he said to me, stop acting like it hurts. And what? But it does hurt. Well, I know it hurts, but stop acting like it. And that was his advice. And it pissed me off. But the next time I went to sit down, I just let my whole body relax and I flopped into the couch. It was a futon couch rather than sitting purposefully, and it didn't hurt at all. It didn't hurt, not one bit. So he just has this way of like, whatever it is, he's very matter of fact about it. And it can be really annoying, but it's always helpful and he's always right. I have a very soft spot in my heart for him. Number 4 is biggest witchy mess up or misinterpretation. I don't really know. Nothing jumps to mind except just in the beginning when I was newly walking my path, actively seeking witchcraft and energy work and things like that. I did not understand that we are each unique energetic individuals and that someone else's truth may not be mine. Even if it's 5 million other people's truth, that doesn't mean it's mine. So there are certain things within any sort of, working with crystals, working with herbs, working with energy, anything like that, where there's these sort of baseline rules. It's these common truths. I did not understand that didn't make it so for everyone. So I was trying to make myself fit into situations. For example, everybody always says with energy work that your left hand is receiving and your right hand is giving. This is not true for me. It's not the opposite either. It's just that both my hands give and receive. It's just that the right one does it consciously and the left one does it unconsciously. It just doesn't whenever the hell it wants to do it. But they both give and receive. And now they've turned on because I'm talking about them. At any rate, so there are a lot of little things like that where I was trying to make myself fit into a mold that was pre-existing and it just didn't work. And I wish I had understood earlier. It took me years to figure out all these things that, these truths weren't necessarily true for me. And that doesn't mean that every common truth isn't true for me. It's just that there were several that weren't. And it hindered me in a way. Gosh. All right. Number 5. Would you write a book on your craft or spirituality? Why? If you already have, what were your challenges in doing so? So this is a timely question. All right, first off, when I went through my initiation in the first place, I came out of that, I immediately started writing. So this is like 2006, early 2007. And it's a work of fiction, but it is about, my spiritual ideas and beliefs are in there, definitely embedded in there. And it is about magic. It's complete fantasy. It's not really about anything that we do as witches. I didn't even know anything about witchcraft at the time anyway, but not on any conscious level anyway. And this book was kind of like channeled, but there's definitely spiritual truths peppered in there and little clever insights. But it just poured right out of me. I was like a mad woman possessed, no joke. I would be up literally all night. My husband would get up for work and I would still be feverishly writing. And then I'd go to sleep for a few hours and get up and just write. And like, I can show y'all one day if you want to see the mad scribblings. Like my kids would bring home papers from school and all over in the backs of it's insane. I have moved it into notebook form, but I still have the old original notes. It's this whole fleshed out world, and hopefully one day the tap will turn back on, because one day it was just done and I just stopped, and I've tried to get back into it since, but I'm not going to force it. It's not coming. Having said that, the last time I wrote an article for the Coffee Table Coven online magazine, it was about how I incorporate sacred geometry into my practice, the main way that I do. And I always bounce anything I write off my husband to see that it makes sense, because it makes sense to me. It came out of my head, but does it make sense to you? Do you understand what I'm saying? And so he's my soundboard. And so I read the article to him and he said, have you ever thought about writing all this stuff down in a book? I'm like, all this stuff. And like, my practice is changing and morphing. And so there's all these things that I've been talking about. And I was like, I don't know that I have anything to add to the community, whatever. Like, there's plenty of great stuff out there already. And he's like, okay. And a couple days later, I was communing in the yard like I do. And all of a sudden, I just had this stream of thought. And I came inside and I decided to write it down because, again, like I said, I just want to document. My intention was to document this shift in my practice and so I can go back and look at how my practice is changing right now. My ideas and my understanding and my relationship with my magic and my practice. Suddenly, just all this information pours out of me, and I'm like, oh, this is starting to sound like a book. And then when my husband got home, I showed him what I had been up to, and he did the thing he does. I call it Yoda-ing me, because he'll say something and then it kind of comes to pass in a way, like it shows itself to be true. And then he has this sort of, young grasshopper kind of look on his face. He's the only person that does that to me. It drives me crazy. At any rate, he said, wow, that kind of sounds like the beginnings of a book. And I was just like, I know. Because it wasn't my intention at all. And I honestly don't know that it's going to go anywhere. But maybe I will write a book at some point. I can't rule out the possibility. I do consider myself to be a writer. I'm not going to put too fine a point on it, though, because it's just we'll see what happens kind of deal. But this was literally just weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe. Number 6. If someone wanted to summon you to their circle, what 5 items would they need? Okay, so 5, I think if you have a little area set up where you've got, sticks and bones, definitely some candles burning, crystals and fresh herbs, and then you have this nice cup of chocolate mint tea, and you play some music, play some Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin, I will show up. Number 7, if you were a ghost, what places would you haunt? I don't think that I would haunt anywhere, if I'm honest. But in the fun of answering the question, to play along, if we take out loved ones, if we take loved ones completely out of the equation, I would probably be hanging out in Japan somewhere. Number 8, what is the funniest way someone has reacted to finding out that you're a witch? I don't really have a specific, most people, especially ones who aren't approving, who are family or whatever, that, I'm like, oh, I'm a witch. They kind of glaze over and their eyes get a little big. The funniest reactions I've had, I would say, have been while I was working at Compass Rose, the witchy metaphysical shop. This one, he was 14 years old, this boy. He was so pissed off that I wasn't Christian and just was really nasty and snarky. And I was just, loving and sweet. And I'm like, I tried to be Christian. I looked into it. It just wasn't for me. Oh, yeah? Well, why do you think that is? And just I'm standing here within myself thinking, I could be your mother. What the hell is wrong with you? Because he was just so nasty. At any rate, another time, this preacher's wife came in with her 2 adult children. She was in her probably 60s. And started telling me a story about, she wanted to know, what it was to be a witch or whatever. So I told her my perspective, or pagan or whatever. And then she wanted to know, I've always had funky, messed up hair color since I was in my mid-20s. And so she wanted to know, what the colored hair had to do with anything. I'm like, it's just a personal choice. And actually, I kind of dug the key in a little bit. I said, actually, when I go out like this, I feel the eyes of judgment upon me, and they remind me not to judge others. And that's when her children drug her out of the store. But before that, she told us this whole story about how some witches had kidnapped her when she was younger and tried to force her to convert to, worship Satan and be part of their coven, to, stick it to her husband and God. And I was just like, wow, I'm sorry that you had that experience, but anybody tries to force you to believe anything, you should run the other direction, was really my response. And of course, after her kids drug her out, my boss lady and I just kind of looked at each other and rolled our eyes, and we're just like, what bullshit. I mean, I guess it's possible, but that's not normal. Witches don't do that. So I guess those have been some of the weirder reactions I've had. Number 9, do you have any superstitions? I don't really consider the things that I have superstitions at all. But there are a few little things that I have a knee-jerk reaction to. So the knock on wood kind of thing. Now, for me, if my husband or I say anything that is sort of negative, we put that out into the universe, we will automatically look at one another or ourselves and be like, negate that. That's our knock on wood. We're like, negate that. Just erase it. It never happened, because we don't want whatever we just said to be reality. And the other one would be anytime we're watching a movie or a show and there's something, something going on, and it's usually fiction, but there's something going on that needs to be dealt with, bad energy, ghosts, whatever, me and my husband's immediate reaction, because like a lot of times they burn stuff and we're like, we clench up, because our immediate gut reaction is burn it to release it, to free it, and bury it to bind it. So bury it if you're trying to stop it, and bind it and control it. But in movies, they're always burning shit. So I don't know. Again, I don't feel like they're superstitions at all, but those are my three really knee-jerk reactions when it comes to something that maybe not everyone would agree with. And I guess there are people on certain paths or in certain walks of life or cultures who might find those to be superstitions. Number 10, if you could possess any fantasy magic, what would your power be? Honestly, I think that most magic powers aren't fantasy, that most are something that can actually be achieved, just maybe not to the scale we're used to seeing in movies or books, or maybe not just exactly the same. But if we're going to talk about something that's basically impossible, flying on a broomstick. What is more witchy than flying on a broomstick? Let me go flying around on a broomstick. Now, I'm afraid of heights, so I don't know how much I'd actually like it. But to me, a witchy power that absolutely positively does not exist is flying on a broomstick. So that's what I've chosen. Number 11, what is something random on your altar or altars? And honestly, there isn't anything. If I show you, and I only have 2 altars up right now, but both of them, everything on there is on there for a purpose. Even my altar out front, I have this India incense spray. So that's not really, it doesn't need to be on my altar, but it's like a room spray. I keep it there. I guess that would be the random thing. Everything on my altar has purpose. Every once in a while, something weird will get set there, usually by someone else. And it's supposed to only be there temporarily, but even that doesn't happen that often. I'm kind of meticulous about them. I do work on them and make messes on them, but even that is still something that is supposed to be on the altar. I don't know. I just don't put random things on my altars, I guess. Everything has a purpose and a meaning and a reason for being there. Number 12, if one of the YouTubers you watched was a genie and they could grant you 3 wishes within their power, who would it be and what would your wishes be? And you can't wish for more wishes. Okay, this one was kind of hard for me. And I think I'm going to have to pick Danny Mystic. I would really, really, really love to meet Danny Mystic. If I could wish to meet Danny Mystic and to just kind of hang out with her and pick her brain and just be in her space, in her energy. She is fabulous. So yeah, I don't really have any specific wishes other than just being able to kind of geek out and be in her presence. Number 13, if you could instantly become an expert in any part of your craft or spirituality, what would it be? So I don't really like the term expert. It's not that I want to become an expert, but if I could become more comfortable, more adept, and more in tune and have a better understanding of the shamanic arts, that I could probably die. Like I would just feel complete. What I refer to as my shamanic initiation is what sparked my whole conscious spiritual journey. It is the part that was set upon me that I did not ask for or understand, that completely shook me up and threw me out of my ordinary reality and brought me to where I stand today. And it is still the part that is the most elusive. And I am constantly being told by the cards and by guides and other people who read for me or, get information from me that it's all right here and that I need to stop looking outward. So, but that answer is very frustrating. If I could just work that shit out, I'd be good. I'd be good. Number 14, when you die, what do you think will happen to you or your soul? Which I do not have a concrete answer for this question. I am open when it comes to this question. I believe that energy is eternal, and I absolutely will continue on in some form or another. I kind of believe that it's all of our own making, that some level of consciousness continues on, and what we experience is of our own design in a way. Whether that's on a purely individual level or on a sort of collective level, again, I'm sort of open. I believe there's an other side, if you will. There's something else. I don't believe that it has one specific shape or form, and that it doesn't necessarily look exactly the same for everyone. You know, I don't know. Do with that what you will. Number 15, where do you see yourself spiritually in the next 5 years? Okay, this one. I used to meditate regularly. I haven't done that in so long. So I really want to start getting back into a meditative practice. It can only be of benefit to me. So I want to have a nice set established. You know, I'm excited to see where that grows once I get into it over the next 5 years, since that's the question. And journey. I used to journey once a month, and I haven't done that in quite a while either. So I need to get back into that. So I'll be doing that as well. Of course, I want to continue to grow my business. For me, that is part of my spiritual path. As you know, I did work in a witchy metaphysical shop for several years, and I know what that's like. I don't understand the business aspect of it as much, but like, I was not an equal partner in the business by any means, but my boss lady was my best friend, and she lives 6 months in Virginia and 6 months down here in North Carolina. And so for the 6 months that she was in Virginia, I was it. I ran the shop, and I was an integral part of building the community that we built there. We would teach classes. She would teach sometimes I would teach. We'd have guest teachers come in. We had another dear friend who helped build that community as well and brought in a bunch of teachers. And I did a monthly like spirit group kind of thing. We got together in the shop and would do crystal grids, or whatever we set up for that month, just a loose sort of gathering of a spiritual nature. And I was a pretty integral part of the shop. And I know what that's like. I know what it means to do those things and to interact with all the customers on a daily basis. And I know that that is the one time in my life that I have felt, I don't even know how to describe how I felt. I was serving my purpose. I was doing what I was supposed to do. So if in 5 years' time I can have my own shop and be selling my product and doing all those things that I did in that shop, I know I'll feel very fulfilled, and that I will be doing what it is I'm supposed to do. And I'm doing it now in a minimal capacity. This channel has been greatly beneficial to me in that way. And I would love to continue doing YouTube as well if I can. Sometimes I feel like I'm running out of things to talk about, but inspiration always strikes. And of course, the rest of the community is very helpful for bringing up things to talk about. But I would love to still be doing YouTube videos in 5 years as well. So yeah, that's kind of it, I guess. I don't know. Thank you, Little Cosmic Crow, for creating the tag. Thank you, Ashley and Michelle, for doing the tag. And thank you, everybody, for listening to me ramble on as I answered. Until next time, much love and gratitude.